What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. We are here in Michigan. It is March 5th. We just got about 10 inches of snow on Friday, so 2 days ago. And it is beautiful out right now. It's 45 degrees, sunny. You can see here all the snow melting away. What a beautiful day. But we are not fishing quite yet. There's still a lot of skim ice on the lakes, and a lot of the ramps aren't put in yet, so there's not really any way to access a lot of the lakes right now. You can certainly get out some places in some areas, but we're thinking we're kind of in that 2-week window, so we have been kind of going nuts this weekend, catching up on all the stuff that we were behind on, getting our rods and reels all oiled and greased up and cleaned and everything lined and ready to go, because the season will be here before we know it. Like I said, we're about 2 weeks away before we think we're going to be hitting the water with the boat. But we're going to do a quick little video today. Today's focus is going to be on ice out bassin. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to talk about 3 baits that I find critical for this ice out time of year. You know, we're talking when the ice is literally just leaving the lake. We're not talking pre-spawn. We're not talking them thinking about going up to spawn. We're talking cold water. What are my top 3 baits that I choose ice out? So without further ado, let's get into it. So as I said, we're going to review the top 3 baits for me for this ice out period. So for this ice out period, we're talking ice just leaving the lake all the way up to that pre-spawn 48 degrees or so for a lot of the natural inland lakes. And sorry, a car just distracted me. I'm kind of like a squirrel type of guy. A lot of the normal natural lakes, grass-fed lakes. Mine might be a little bit different than what you've had success with. These are just kind of lures that are my kind of go-to or my style. Obviously your style might be a little different, but I'm just here to give you a few tips on what has worked for me, what I kind of use, and the kind of thought process I have going about how I choose these types of baits. So without further ado, let's kick it off with bait number 1. Bait number 1. This is a popular favorite in the springtime especially. What we have here is the Z-Man Jackhammer 3/8 ounce Fire Craw, and what I have on the trailer is a 4-inch Rage Menace in this red craw color. So this is, you know, definitely a staple here in Michigan and a lot of northern grass-fed lakes, but what I really find most successful with this in this ice out period is not necessarily to throw where you would throw this in the summertime. So let me kind of explain a little bit. So in the winter, all your grass and all your vegetation on the lake is going to be died off. It's going to be dead. These fish are still in that dormant phase where they're not necessarily wanting to eat, but there is going to be these small windows throughout the day where they will go eat. So what I'm going to do, and with all of these baits really, is I'm going to try to fish the warmest, sunniest times of the day. These are going to be the opportunities where you're going to find the warm water, the fish congregation, and a little bit of fish, you know, attention to actually feed. So what I'm going to do with the Jackhammer is I'm going to find kind of the thickest, deadest grass. So what I'm talking about is, you know, your thickest mats, your thickest pads, and it's all going to be dead, obviously, underwater kind of. I'm just going to throw this out there and I'm just going to rip it through the grass. So I'm not going to actually just kind of reel it in. It's going to be a reel, yank, reel, yank. And I'm going to kind of just yank it through this grass, hoping I can kind of find a fish sitting in that grass, you know, sitting in that warmth that is willing to trigger a bite. So that's kind of what I'm thinking here. And as I said, in the winter time, these fish aren't necessarily wanting to feed yet. They are, you know, dormant, rather dormant. They've sat under the ice for 3 months-ish. They're starting to enjoy the warmth. They're going to feed in these small windows. And fish kind of feed for 2 reasons, right? Not to get in the weeds here, but I want to clear this up before I hit all 3 of these baits. They're curious or they're reacting to something. So this time of year, your reaction is going to be close to zero. You're really not going to have a lot of reaction strikes. These fish are not going to be feeding off their reaction. It's going to be simply curious. You are going to get some reaction strikes when you do these, chatterbait type of things, ripping it through the grass. You could do the same with the lipless. There is going to trigger some reaction, but the opportunity for that reaction bite is definitely going to improve throughout the warmer months in the summer and into the late summer. So without further ado, let's go to bait number 2. Bait number 2 is a staple. This is a bait that is catching fish all year long. It is the jerk bait. What we have here is the Realis, Duo Realis 100, kind of in a sexy shad color. So the fascinating thing with these types of baits is you can kind of do a little modifications here or there to kind of mimic what you want to mimic, right? So that you can put on smaller size hooks for it to kind of float if it is a suspending. You can put on larger size hooks, which will kind of sink it a little bit, and then you can actually kind of do a little bit of both, where you can keep a standard hook, put a larger hook in the front where it's kind of diving, so a little bit of a bait fish dying kind of event. And the fascinating thing with the jerk bait is in this winter time, what you're going to want to do is kind of put on those larger hooks, and you're going to kind of want a little sinking action to it. You're not going to want it to be falling, but you're going to want it kind of slightly less suspend. So if that makes any sense, you don't want it to just sit there. You want it to kind of just slowly fall. And the key with this type of bait in the winter time is you want to throw it out there. You're not looking to smash, like a normal summertime jerk bait. You're going to put it out there. You're going to do one tap, and you're going to leave it sit for 10, 15, 20, 30 seconds depending on the day, and you're just going to slowly make it into the boat. So this bait's going to take a while to get in, but it's kind of that, it is a reaction type of hit, but like I said, the likelihood of these fish being super reactive and triggering after a jolting bait fish going side to side is very low. So what you're going to want to do is keep it minimal, and you're going to want to just kind of let it hang there. And where you're going to want to hang is not just going to be going to the steepest point there is on the lake. You're going to want to find these little key areas. So as I said, the sun is your friend. If you can get out on a sunny day, the sun is going to be your friend. What you want to do is try to find some rocks, try to find some shell beds, try to find something that's going to hold fish on for the sole reason of its heat. And this can be a point. It can be a wind-blown side of the point. It can be an area of the lake that gets a lot of warm water blown up against it. Just because there's waves hitting the shoreline doesn't mean they're not warm waves. So you're going to want to find the warm areas. Focus on these rocks, focus on these bluff walls, focus on these types of areas. And as I said, adjusting your hooks can be critical. You can catch a lot more fish just by changing your reaction from a suspending or a slow rise to a sinking or a slight sinking action. So bait number 2 is the jerk bait, and we're going to go to bait number 3. Bait number 3, this is kind of a staple all year long here in Michigan, but it is a swim bait. So I have a ball head, 1/8 ounce, 2.8 inch IU swing impact Kitech, and this is going to be a fish catching machine. So just a little bit about the size of the Kitech. We'll get into that as we do other baits, time of the year kind of stuff videos. But I want to be a very finesse micro, 2.8, even 2.2 this time of year. So what I'm going to actually be able to do with this type of bait is I'm going to be able to fish it 2 ways. If you're a live scoper like myself, this is a bait I love all year long because I can kind of put it on a ball head and I can drop it right under my graph on top of these fish. But it's also critical. So similar to the jerkbait where I was talking about finding these rocky areas, these shell beds, you can even be in very shallow water. What I'm going to do with this is I'm not going to just swim it, but I'm going to actually throw it out there. I'm going to let it hit the bottom, and I'm just going to slowly reel it in, where it's just going to kind of scoot. And we're going to scoot the bottom, and this is going to kind of spook these fish that are congregated on these rocks. They're not going to be very active. They're going to be rather dormant, but if you have that sun hitting that rock, and you have some sort of bait kind of trigger, movement off the rock, these fish are going to be eating it just out of sole curiosity. So that scooting action can make the swim bait a great bait for the winter time. And as you get further into the spring, right, go to your 3.3, go to your 3.8, go to your little bit heavier. You're going to be targeting a little bit different types of areas in that as well. But in this winter time, this cold water, this little scooting action can be huge. And as I said, you can fish this as a live scope kind of drop bait. This can be effective all year long, but especially in the winter time. And where I'm going to do this type of presentation is if I'm in a pond, so a bay that they frequent in the summertime is likely going to have an area where it drops off, and it's just going to be kind of a mucky bottom. And what I'm going to like about this is that muck is going to actually hold a lot of heat in comparison to a sand bottom or these areas that might have minimal vegetation because of its sole, what it's made out of. The muck itself is actually going to hold a lot more heat. And what I'm going to look for is fish kind of sitting either in that deep water or right on that edge, kind of thinking about going up shallow. And it can be deadly from that aspect of just dropping it on top of their head and hoping for kind of a jigging spoon type of bite. This would be kind of a similar type of presentation you would do with a blade bait. Obviously, I didn't review the blade bait. It's not a confidence bait of mine. Blade bait's another great option. I mentioned the lipless crankbait, another beautiful option. Lipless is one you can use similar as you would the chatterbait, kind of ripping it through the grass. Obviously, there's lots of other baits, and what we're going to do here is we're going to showcase these 3 baits. So we're going to showcase the Jackhammer, we're going to showcase the jerk bait, and the finesse swim bait here in about 2 weeks when we hit the water. So I hope you all have a great week. I hope you all stay blessed. Take care of yourselves and have a great week.